Hey, Mike, thank you so much for joining me in this podcast episode. Really appreciate it. How are you doing today?
Hey, hey, Russ, I'm doing fantastic. I'm here in Denver, Colorado, in the States, and we're having a spectacular day. I just got back from a client, and I'm trying to book some travel to head off to Germany for what could be an Oktoberfest session if I have my dates right and extend it a little bit. How about you?
Yeah, it's been a great day so far. I know we had like a heat waves this week, but today is like compared to it's like a cool down a little bit. It's
Right.
raining and cloudy. So yeah, back to normal UK life, I
Yeah,
guess. And
a little bit of
exciting.
everything, a mix. Oh, something always to complain about, right?
Yeah, there is always something. So yeah, super excited to be having you as a guest in the show. And yeah, there is a lot to learn from you as well in today's show. So what we're going to more focus on today's topic, which is negotiation, how to be a better negotiator as well, and how we can implement on our life and also our business as well. So before we get into that, I'd love to know more about you, like being a negotiator yourself and getting to like being an entrepreneur. How did everything happen in a like in your life, like in terms of getting to sales, getting into like being entrepreneur?
Yeah. Wow. So big question. Let me start early in my life.
Sure.
I went to university to be an engineer.
Hmm.
Um, I was always good at math and liked solving problems.
Right.
So I got a degree in engineering. And when I graduated, the job market for engineers was very difficult. So I couldn't find a job as an engineer. And if I couldn't be an engineer, my next favorite profession was to be in sales. My grandfather was in sales, always had a nice new car,
Yeah.
didn't work a lot of Fridays, played a lot of golf. The life of a salesperson. So I joined a company called Kenmar, which is a manufacturer's rep. They represent manufacturers from around the globe selling into Ford, Chrysler, and General Motors.
Hmm.
And so I did that sales job for about 3 years before I realized that I was average.
Right.
And like most people in life, I didn't want to be average at my craft.
Yeah.
So I decided I would develop a survey. I'm an engineer, so I need to get some data. So I
Yeah.
developed this survey and I passed it around to all my peers about why they were successful. And when the survey came back, or when the surveys came back, I was really disappointed in the results because there was only one common data point across
Mhm.
all these world-class sellers. And the common data point was this: they had all been in purchasing roles before they went into sales roles. And
Right.
that didn't make sense to me. Why would you need a purchasing background to be good at sales?
Yeah.
So I went to my boss and I said, hey, you know the survey? And he rolled his eyes. He said, oh, I've heard all about the survey. I said, well, do you know that everybody here has been in purchasing? And he said, duh, I could have told you that before the survey. And I said, no, I don't understand. What do you mean? I don't get it.
Yeah.
So he said, well, let me explain it this way. We understand the other side's sheet of paper.
Hmm.
And I said, I have no idea what that means. And he said, well, listen, we understand when we have a relationship with the decision maker, when the end user community needs something special and we can supply it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's intellectual property or a capacity or some capability, or we're one of very few suppliers in the world that can produce that part. And on those deals, we work to close them at high margin because that's what we're paid to do.
Mm.
And then he said, on the other side of that, we understand when we're the third bidder or the fourth bidder or the eighth bidder in some cases, when we're, dare I say, a commodity, when we have no real shot. And on those deals, we're still building a relationship. We're still polite and professional. We're building
Yeah.
for the future, though. We know we're not going to win. Um, so we try to lose fast. I said, well, how do I know when I probably have the business and when I probably don't?
Yeah.
He said, well, you're a smart guy. 8 or 10 years in sales, you'll probably figure it out. Or General Motors is hiring buyers right now. I know one of the hiring managers. If you'd
Hmm.
like, I could get you a job as a buyer. And I said, well, if I was a buyer, how long would it take me to figure out? And he said, year or two tops, you definitely figure it out. And the little voice in my head, that little voice that we all have, right? Super powerful. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. That Henry Ford quote.
Yeah.
That little voice said, that sounds efficient. 8 or 10 years in sales, maybe figure it out. 1 or 2 years in purchasing, definitely figure it out. So I said to him, will you please make the phone call for me? We get me an interview. So here's the vice president of sales, takes his young protege, and he gets me a job at General Motors. And
Wow.
And he did it out of the kindness of his heart to help me. A lot of
Yeah.
people think he did it to help himself, have one more insider, but he really did it to help me. In fact, we put up a firewall that we wouldn't negotiate against each other because we had the previous relationship. Now, so when I went from sales, working really hard, into purchasing, I could actually turn my brain off half the day. I would work with the end user community. I would build out the specifications for the RFP. I would work with engineering and quality and manufacturing and marketing. And then I'd send out the RFP package to the salespeople, to the suppliers.
Right. Yeah.
And then I'd play Mahjong and Solitaire. At the time, I'm dating myself a little bit, but those are the only games Microsoft let you have at the time on your computer. So I'd play Mahjong and Solitaire. I might go to a meeting or two, things like that. The bids would start coming in over the course of a week or two, and they'd start stacking up on my desk. I'd play Mahjong and Solitaire. Didn't even look at them. The due date would hit. I'd have a stack, I'd have 10 bids on my desk. Wouldn't look at them. Just be playing Mahjong and Solitaire. And I'd wait for the phone to ring. And it'd be one of the salespeople, and the phone call would go like this. They'd say, "Hey, Mike, we submitted our bid a few days ago, and we were wondering how do we look?" Their voice would get really high.
Yeah.
Without even looking at their bid, I would say, "Are you kidding me? You're way too high. Do better." Okay. Phone call would end. I'd go back to Mahjong and Solitaire. Later that day, maybe the next day, I'd get another phone call from that salesperson. They'd say, "Hey, we took a look at it. That finance missed something. We sharpened our pencil, and we're able to take 8% off. How does an 8% discount sound?" Without even looking at their bid, I would say, 8%. Come on, you got to be double digits if you're serious.
Yeah.
Hang up. Back to Mahjong and Solitaire. Or I'd call a meeting with a supplier I had no intention of doing business with, someone that was new and weak and desperate. And I would abuse and I would take, because they really wanted to get in the GM system.
Yeah.
Then I would say, "Okay, hold. Thank you for your bid. Thank you for negotiating, for giving me stuff." And I'd call a meeting with a supplier that I really wanted to do business with. And I would say, "Hey, listen, I've already got all these concessions from your competition. If you can't beat this, you're going to lose this order." And I was really good at it. But see, here's the problem. After about 6 months, I started to feel really bad about myself. Like I couldn't wake up and be proud of the work that I was doing. General Motors drove hundreds, if not thousands, of suppliers out of business with those type of predatory business practices.
Yeah.
So one day I decided I'm better than that. And I started to learn about negotiating. I read books on negotiating. I took classes on negotiating, like the one I teach now. And from that point forward, I went from a buyer to a manager to a director in the GM system. Then I moved over to America West Airlines, which is now through acquisition American Airlines.
Okay.
Where I had all the indirect parts. From there, I moved to a company called IAC Interactive Corp. And IAC is Barry Diller's holding company that owned Expedia and Match.com. And let's see, at the time we owned Home Shopping Network, Ticketmaster, industry-leading companies. Yeah. And my job as head of purchasing there was to get all of those companies to negotiate internally together and then go negotiate with our suppliers with one voice. And then my last job before teaching negotiations with Tableforce is I was one of the heads of procurement for MGM Resorts International. So it's 50,000 hotel rooms on the Strip. It's MGM Grand, Mandalay Bay, Luxor, Excalibur, New York, Monte Carlo, some prestigious properties, Bellagio. Yeah. And there, so I've applied negotiations on the sales side, on the buy side, in all different categories. In more than, let's see, I've been in 38 countries now, just counted my last count.
Wow.
On 6 continents. And what I've noticed is this, when you negotiate good deals, not only is it a good financial deal, it should be for both sides, but you actually build a better relationship because of the way you negotiate. And that's what I'm most proud of, to actually not just getting to yes with the other side. And sometimes it's better to have no deal. Sometimes getting to no is okay too, especially if you can do it fast and efficiently and friendly. To tell somebody, "Hey, listen, I can't do that. So before we get to yes, and you end up hating me because I can't deliver, I'm just going to say, I'm here for you if something else fails, but I can't do that." Sometimes those are the best deals, the ones that don't happen. How you can actually have a better relationship, a repetitive relationship, be friendly with somebody, still have high aspirations, still have high expectations to get a good deal, but to actually also have a good relationship, I think is a positive thing that is an outcome if you negotiate properly.
Yeah, that's a great story you have. Like
And
coming
if you
from
can't
where
tell
you
my
are right
passion for negotiations, my excitement level, shame on me.
Yeah.
I get jazzed up when anybody. So sorry for rambling on there, but when people want to talk about negotiations, it really charges me up.
Yeah, this is what you do for a living, and also like you're passionate about it. So that works out perfectly fine for you. So those
Sure.
who doesn't actually know what negotiation is, they probably heard of it. But the way you look at negotiation could be different than how we think as a negotiation is. So with your own terms of like a negotiation, how important is a negotiation in our life? Like doing a business or personal life, how we can implement?
Sure. Well, first of all, let me say this. So you've got an international audience,
Yeah.
and I'm from the United States. I know what I look like. I know what I sound like. I know people go, that's the American, and that's kind of disrespectful to our Canadian and our Mexican, our Brazilian friends. America's really a continent, but I get the term American negotiator. People from the United States are some of the worst negotiators in the world, bar none. And I point no further than our politicians in Washington, D.C., the conflict that
Right.
comes from a bad negotiation. So we try to teach a global style of negotiation that does work no matter where you are. And other countries are much better at negotiating. I don't like to stereotype, but there are trends to look for based on where someone comes from. There's that saying, don't make assumptions because it makes an ASS out of you and me. I say wrong. We should make assumptions. When I'm negotiating with someone from the Netherlands, which I love, by the way, because typically they're very direct.
Right.
They will tell you that's not possible. And that really means move on. That's not going to happen. And I like to say bad news early is good news. To efficiently get through a negotiation, you can do that in the Netherlands most of the time. Now, of course, there's exceptions to that. That maybe someone from the Netherlands has a different background culturally from their parents, their upbringing. Maybe they went to school somewhere else.
Yeah.
They tend to be very direct and dry, whereas some of the Latin countries, some of the Italians, some of the Spanish tend to be a little more outgoing and verbose, and that's their style. But the concept of negotiating properly, which we will boil down to, is trading concessions.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I can do this if you do something for me. And no, I can't do that, but maybe I can do something else.
Yeah.
If you can do something for me. That trade, and it doesn't have to be on the same deal point. I can get you a better price if you can give me a better delivery date.
Yeah.
Where each side can win something from that deal, and it doesn't have to be on the same deal point. That's what I look for. The opportunity for 1 + 1 to equal 3.
How does it work?
Got it. Oh, are we locked up? Are we on? Okay, we're back on. Thanks.
Can you hear me well?
Yeah, I hear you now. Thank you. Thank you for checking. Did you have another question about negotiating?
Yeah, so let's talk about a little bit about how we can implement better negotiation on our sales in business. So a lot of small to medium-sized business owners listen to this podcast and going to watch on YouTube as well. And many of us small to medium-sized business owners not properly trained, and we haven't done anything in line of like a sales, like how to have a conversation, how to close a deal, and we struggle through day-to-day life because probably we don't have like a sales team, like a 1-minute show, or probably 2 or 3 in the team, and there is no proper sales structure in terms of like building the sales force. So what would you recommend to someone like who's like a solopreneur or like a small team they have? How can they improve their better conversation and negotiation?
Sure. That's a great question. So about 80% of our clients are on the sales side.
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, that's across the world population. Let me speak to 2 common mistakes that I see from the sales side, and then I'll get to how to correct them.
Yeah.
First thing, there's a concept in sales, which is if you've sold well enough, you don't have to negotiate.
Right.
And there is some truth to that. However, I look at it as a missed opportunity, because the other thing that we see is a salesperson. But by nature, salespeople, they want to be liked and they want to please the customer. And don't hear something I'm not saying. The world needs more people pleasers, but people pleasers, salespeople, deserve to be happy too. So the other thing I'll see in sales is a salesperson will just say yes to everything the buyer asks for. The buyer will say, can you do better on price? And the salesperson will say yes. And they'll say, can you do better on the delivery date? And they'll say yes. Can you do better on quality? Yes. Can you give me a better project team? Yes. They just say yes so they can please the other side. And the problem with that is they're giving away value at that point.
Sure.
So what we like to tell a salesperson is just say yes if. Yes, I can move the delivery date if you can be a reference account for me. Will you write a blurb on our webpage? Will you give me a letter on your letterhead? Will you introduce me to someone in your network so that I can grow my sales funnel while I'm helping you with your business need? And that's the opportunity to negotiate that I think most people miss. They tend to focus on price.
Yeah.
Salesperson will quote 100,000 and the buyer will say 100,000. You kidding me? Do better. And they'll go, okay, how about 96,000? Can we do 96,000? And the buyer will say, come on, 96, be serious. And they'll go, okay, how about 92,000? And they're giving away value. Yeah. Or the customer will say, hey, listen, my budget's 80. How close to 80 can you get? And then they think that's a negotiation. And it's really I don't even say the simplest form. It's the brute force. It's the minimal you can do in negotiation. Studies are showing that most people have 4 to 5 opportunities to negotiate every day, and they miss it because they're not thinking of it as a negotiation. Project management is a negotiation. Getting your internal customers, when can we meet? Who's going to lead the meeting? How long are we going to meet for? Those type of deliverables are negotiable if you expand the definition of negotiating.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. Like a lot of entrepreneurs doesn't actually look at it this way, right? Like
they don't.
You're giving the value to your customer, your clients, and what you actually getting return in terms of like a value for yourself as a sales professional or like a small business owners, like referrals, like asking for like a better or like introducing to their own network, so you can expand in the same time, like how they gain value from your company or your organization. So let's talk a little bit about like we got to like a negotiation and in phase and like your great sales team, and we're trying to get like better in our revenue goal and trying to achieve some kind of a level we want to be there, like the expectation you have in terms of your sales. So how do you actually train your team or like sales team members, like they can be better negotiated?
Sure. So the first thing we do, a standard class, 80% of the classes we do, buyer or seller, is a 2-day class, and that's broken up into 4 sections. The morning of day 1, we talk about personal short-term negotiating. Buying a house, buying a car, buying a lawnmower, selling your used car. And we do that because if people get more comfortable negotiating in their personal lives, they'll be more comfortable and confident negotiating in their professional life. And let's be brutally honest. A lot of people are afraid of failure in front of their boss, in front of their team, right? You might get fired. If you do poorly. So they don't have the confidence to negotiate well. In your personal life, if you negotiate poorly, if you spend an extra $1,000 on a car, you're not going to lose your job or your livelihood. It's not as a catastrophic of event. So what we try to get people to do is being very comfortable negotiating in their personal lives with their partner, spouse, kids, neighbors, whoever may be, when you go out to dinner. So quick example. My wife hates to negotiate. She's from the UK. She's from just outside of Manchester. She's kind of pale complected.
Yeah.
She gets like ghostly white. Her hands start to shake. She can't do it. And she has a lot of other value adds in life. But she can't. And she gets a little bit concerned when I start to negotiate. And as a negotiator, I'm negotiating all the time.
Yeah.
So when we go out to dinner, now she has told me in no uncertain terms, I am not allowed to negotiate over the price of food because she's worked in a restaurant. She knows what they can do in the back of the house. So I'm not allowed to negotiate over the price of food. However, when at least in the US, when you check in at a restaurant, the host or hostess gives you a binary choice. They will say, do you want to sit at a booth or a table? Do you want to sit at the bar or the restaurant? Do you want to sit inside or outside? It's for whatever reason, they fall into this binary trap. So I always say the same thing. I want to sit with your best server. And they look at me kind of funny, like, huh? What? And I say, you know the server. I want the server that trains all the other servers. Because if I'm going to pay full price for a meal, and my wife has made it very clear that we are, I want the best experience possible. The last thing that I want is to pay full price and to have maybe the meat isn't cooked properly, or they forgot the side dish, or they vanish for a little while. So that's a negotiation right there. I want to sit and I will wait if necessary. If they say, well, sir, we can't sit you right now in the best servers. Can you wait 10 minutes? Yes, I can in most cases, unless I'm in a hurry.
Yeah.
But now we're talking about that old saying, good, fast, cheap, pick two. So if they're picking the price, then I want the service and I want the timing if possible. And I can even give on the timing, assuming that that's okay on my sheet of paper. So again, that's expanding the definition of negotiating beyond just a simple buy sell over price.
Yeah.
And it's pushing yourself to be creative. It's pushing yourself to decide what's important to me and how do I get it? And then what's important to the other side and how do they get it? And if we as human beings can stop haggling over the same deal point and trying to I win, you lose, which is US style negotiating. If we can say, I want you to win, I'm going to leave you a great Yelp review.
Yeah.
But I need to have a great experience.
Yeah, that's a great way to look
to
at
answer
it,
your
like
question specifically, get people negotiating in their personal lives. They'll be better negotiators in their professional lives.
Yeah, that's a great example. Like, is it like a win-win situation for both ends, right? So it's not like a one end who is winning and another person is losing. So it's never going to be a long-lasting good relationship in terms of business or like a personal life as well. So give us like one example for our audience who's listening. Let's say like they have a client they're working with and they're charging $5,000 a month, and they know like they're bringing more value to their clients and they need to charge them $10,000 or $15,000 a month. But oftentimes what we think, like if we ask them like for a raise or like a price up, and they're like they're gonna cancel the contract or they're not gonna be our client no more. So how do you overcome that and have like a better negotiation in place so you can price off, increase your prices and give them a value at the same time?
Sure. For a straight price increase, by the way, we have a whole module dictated to it. For a straight price increase, first of all, we got to get out of our own head.
Yeah.
There's a little voice in a salesperson's head that says, oh, they're going to hate me if I raise the price. They're going to take the business away if I raise my price.
Yeah.
I won at that price, so I couldn't possibly get any more. So what we say is, get on the other side sheet of paper. So if a salesperson has won at 5,000, let's just say they won the original deal at 5,000.
Yeah.
What they really should be thinking about is this: could they have won at 5,500, at 6,000, at 7,000? Just because they did win at 5 doesn't mean they couldn't won at a higher number.
Right.
When they were awarded the business, the buyer is signaling them, you are my best option at that price, delivery, service level.
Yeah.
Okay. So therefore, by default, that means you probably could have gotten a little more. So now that we're thinking about the other side sheet of paper and there you could get more, maybe the question begins, how much value are we delivering for you? What do you think the value is? And get the buyer talking.
Right.
This is really hard for a lot of salespeople because they're
Yeah.
used to selling their value.
Yeah.
Ask the question and then be quiet.
Let them do the talking, right?
Yeah, and there's that saying, "They who speak first loses."
Yeah.
There's a lot of truth to that. Ask the question, let the other side ponder it, think about it, and this could be awkward. It could be 30 seconds of silence, but let the silence ring, and then the other side might reveal something for you. I had this myself. We had a client brought us in to do a keynote. We have fairly standard pricing. We know kind of what the market is in bands.
Yeah.
And they had never seen us do a keynote before. We gave them pricing. We did the keynote, and after the session, my handler said, "You don't charge nearly enough for what you just did." I said, "Thank you."
Yeah.
Now next time we'll raise the price. But imagine that. Here's the buyer who we have a good relationship with,
Yeah.
signaling that we should charge more, especially to other clients. So I asked them for a letter of reference that basically said, please say nice things in your own words,
Yeah.
so that we can go sell that. Until the other side is saying, "Are you out of your mind? Get out of here." Maybe you haven't asked for enough. Let's take your specific situation. You're getting $5,000,
Yeah.
and you want to take it to 10. So maybe you come in and you ask for 12. You say, "Hey, listen, I've got really bad news. We're looking at the numbers, and there's been hyperinflation, and we're delivering all this extra value. It's within the scope, and we feel like we deserve to get 12." And if they say, "You're out of your mind. You were lucky to get it at 5. I'm going to move the business."
Right.
You can always stay at 5. You can always say, "Are you saying we can't even get to 7?" They are not going to fire you for asking for a raise, assuming you've done a good job, assuming you are producing value. Now, if you're not producing value, good luck. You're probably going to get fired anyway.
Yeah.
But the point is to ask for it, then read their response. And if they give you the 12, that's a lot. Now maybe you can get 10. And if they give you 12, you're out of your mind. I couldn't possibly pay you more than 7. Okay, but then again, you're reading the clues. You have to be willing to hear no from the other side, so that you can then counter that no situationally. I can't tell you what the right answer is. I can't tell you should double your price. I can't tell you 10%'s too high, too low. Every market is different. Every situation is different. But to be willing to ask for it and then read the clues, I think, is a really important negotiation technique.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for that explanation. It's going to really help my audience and me as well. Like, I didn't know a few things. I learned it from you as well. So Mike, coming to the end of this podcast. So those who's listening, if they want to reach out to you, learn more about your company or your sales training, what's the best place to find you?
Thank you. The best place, we own the website domain, negotiationtraining.com. That's what we do, negotiation training. It's 80% of what we do. The other 20% is actually at the table negotiation. And then my email address is mike@tableforce.com. We own both domains and they point to each other. But that's the best place to get a hold of me. And we have a 24-hour service guarantee. Anybody who reaches out, they'll hear back with us within 24 hours.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for your time. And your valuable
Awesome. Thank you.
Time and coming to the show. Really appreciate it.
You got anything else I can do? By all means, reach out and let's stay in touch.
Yeah, definitely. So that's a wrap, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this episode with Mike. So if you want to learn more about Mike and his company, go visit his websites. I'm going to leave them links below on this podcast and also on the YouTube channel, and go check out his stuff. And till then, stay safe, stay healthy. I'll talk to you next episode. Thank you, everyone.